Lentor Central Residences is launching. It's going to be the cheapest brand new condo in the whole of Singapore. And it has been a while since we see a new launch at $2,000 PSF and under. But Lentor is a name that might not be familiar to a lot of people. So where exactly is Lentor?
Lentor is over here, Mark X. It's just right at the site of Amekyo.
And Yio Chu Kang. Lentor is also known to be one of the areas that is closest to CHIJ Setnix. You can see on the map, Lentor is also very near to a lot of greenery. The MacRitchie Reservoir, the Lower Pierce area is all here. You know, sometimes when people say they're scared the monkeys will go into the house, this is one of these areas. For now, because Lentor is developing, there's a lot of things going on. So down the road, there's going to be a lot more civilization, buildings, and amenities coming up all around. Because there's so many brand new condos and developments coming up in Lentor, we just want to explore. Is there going to be an oversupply of condos in Lentor?
Would it be very competitive in the future?
So the key number you need to remember is $28 billion is the amount of money the government has spent to develop the Thomson East Coast Line, and Lentor is one of the biggest beneficiary because it's right there. In fact, it's like 4 to 5 stops away from Woodlands North MRT. And if you understand what's happening in Woodlands, there's going to be this RTS, right? So there's going to be a lot of jobs creation, demand for lodging, and all of this is going to benefit Lentor in a very huge way.
Thomson East Coast Line is the new line that if you've taken it personally, you'll realize that it's very, very underutilized. There's seats like almost at every stop. This MRT line was actually meant to cater to the future needs of all the residents along this line, which later we'll explore all the brand new towns that are coming up in the future.
If we study Thomson East Coast Line, you would see that along these lines, there aren't a lot of residential properties there at the moment. So moving forward, when developments start building around these MRT stations and HDBs and all that kind of stuff, prices will definitely go up as well.
Thomson East Coast Line connects you to important areas such as Orchard, right? It also goes all the way down to the CBD of Singapore, which is Marina Bay. And in the future, it will connect us all the way towards the east, which is the Changi Aviation Park, the new Terminal 5.
So just one line, you can go from Woodlands all the way to Changi Airport without having to change the train. The next thing we can look forward to is the North-South Corridor, which we have talked about in several different videos, but we're going to talk about it again. So there's going to be underground tunnels for the cars, a bit like KPE, and they're trying to relieve the tension from on the surface of the road. So on the level 1 on the road, there's going to be space for cycling, bus, greenery, parks.
So right now, if you're traveling from the north to the city, you definitely have to take the CTE.
Yes.
Right, which is always very congested,
yeah,
and also very expensive for the ERP, so it's really not worth. So the government's building this in order to ease the congestion on CTE as well. And definitely something to look forward to, especially those that are staying in the north. It will cut your traveling times to the south by 10 minutes if you're driving. So Lentor is actually right over here at this point. So towards the north, this way, it would be the viaduct, which will be completed in phases in 2027. And then when you're going towards the south, it's going to be the tunnel, which completes likely in 2029. So exactly where are the entrances and the exits of the North-South Corridor? You can see this is where Lentor is, right? So we are just 4 minutes drive towards this entrance and 4 minutes drive towards this entrance. And this is how the North-South Corridor will kind of look like and feel. So lots of greenery, places for people to walk and cycle along the North-South Corridor.
So if you buy into Lentor today, there's this thing called the Pioneer Advantage. So what's the difference between Pioneer Advantage and the First Mover Advantage? Especially when you're on social media listening to all these podcasts about properties, a lot of agents like to talk about the First Mover Advantage. So First Mover is basically when there is already a town, there is already establishment, it's already a mature estate, and you're the first person to buy into this brand new condo in the area. We call it the first mover advantage. But for Lentor, this whole area, the Thomson East Coast Line, nothing is there yet. I mean, if you drive down to Lentor, you see all around you is just construction. And there's like 7 condos over there right now that is building. And If you study the master plan, there's a huge piece of residential land that is very near, which is about 5 times the size of these 7 condos combined. So there is literally nothing happening there right now. And if you were to buy into this, you are literally considered like the pioneer.
I think a lot of people's concern is that Lentor will have a lot of supply and competition in a very ulu location.
Yeah.
But let's just zoom out and see what the government has plans for the entire residential areas in this whole stretch along the Thomson East coastline.
As of right now, this whole Lentor area, the master developer is Guaco Land. And we all already know that Guaco Land is a very high quality developer. The thing that we really want to analyze is one stop away from Lentor is this MRT called the Springleaf. And Springleaf have 2 pieces of land almost side by side. Let's explore Parcel B.
Parcel A and Parcel B were launched around the same timing last year. There were no bidders for Parcel A. It's actually the one that's closest to the MRT. And Parcel B was bought by Gokuland and Hong Leong, who is also the master developer of Lentor. They bought it at 905 per square foot per plot ratio. And I think the reason why that no developers bidder for Parcel A was because the developer will actually have to build 100 service apartments here, which I think is something new for developers to build service apartments in this like Springleaf area when there's actually nothing. It's just prata and landed houses. So one station away from Lentor and Springleaf, there is this upcoming piece of land, bidded also by the same developer. There will be a total of 940 units, which is quite a big development.
2 stations away from Lentor, we have Woodlands South MRT, Woodlands and Woodlands North MRT. So this Woodlands area is known as a regional center. So the key number you need to remember is 100,000 jobs is expected to be created from this whole rejuvenation of the regional center.
Last year, October 2024, we've seen Norwood Grand at Woodlands South MRT transacted at 2,252 per square feet.
And the one that we're talking about today, Lentor Central Residences, which is technically closer to town.
Yes.
2 stops away from Woodlands South. We're launching at under $2,000 per square feet. You are able to get like a 3-bedroom. So if you look on the right side of the screen, you can also see that in Springleaf, the land that is being marked for residential purpose is also very big. From the way I see, it's also at least 3 to 4 times the size of the 6 to 7 condos that is currently developed at Lentor.
The ones that are developing in Lentor is over here, a small portion over here.
Yeah, so if you compare, you can see that there really is going to be a lot of residential land that's going to be in the Springleaf area and all across the Thomson East coastline.
Yeah, and there's so many yellow plots of land you see all around here. These are all reserved land.
So on the master plan, when you see a piece of land that is reserved, you know that down the road, the government is going to add value to the land because obviously when it's reserved means it's reserved for the government. So these are some of the key metrics that is going to help you in terms of the property price growth.
And to put into perspective, right, Lentor is just a small puzzle piece in a big picture that the government has planned for in this area. Further down, we reach Caldecott, and likewise, there's lots of upcoming pieces of land that's not developed yet.
So Caldecott is a very important area to remember because the moment we cross Caldecott, we're in District 11.
And then one more station downwards, we reach Mount Pleasant, which you already know, the government has already announced that there will be 5,000 new homes in this area.
If you want to do your research and feasibility studies, you can try taking the Thomson East Coast line during peak hours and you can see for yourself. The ridership is actually very low as compared to the established line like your East-West line, your Green Line. Down the road, you know that it is almost impossible for the government to spend billions of dollars on an MRT station, MRT line that is going to be underutilized. So you know for a fact that down the road, there's going to be a lot of residential areas along the Thomson East Coast line and the MRT and the infrastructure is ready to accommodate to these residents.
We wouldn't go further down because there will be Stevens, Newton, and there's a different class on its own. So we go towards the east a little bit more. In Bayshore, it is also serviced by the Thomson East Coast line. This is already what the government has planned for this area. So currently it's like this, it's empty, right? But in the very near future, we'll see new developments coming up around here. So of course, 10,000 new homes are expected to be built here, but 70% of them would be HDB. My personal feel is that the Thomson East Coast line is going to be a very exciting and very powerful line because it connects you to all the important like business areas as well as all the brand new towns that are going to develop in the future in Singapore. Okay, now we zoom in closer towards the Lentor 7 project area. and then we take a look what's going to happen in this area. Yeah.
In the whole Lentor cluster, the first and main concern is that there is an oversupply. So we're going to understand, is there really an oversupply, and how much did the developers bought that piece of land for, and how much are they currently selling?
In 2022, the first ever launch in Lentor was Lentor Modern. Now this was a mixed development. So it has a mall component and as well as direct link to the MRT.
Yes.
Right. So it was 605 units. The land cost was 1,205 per square foot per plot ratio. And we've seen that it has transacted an average about 2001, but the highest it has gone to is 2005.
The second one would be Lentor Hills, 598 units. They bought the piece of land at $1,060 per square feet, and when they sold it, it was about $2,115 per square feet on the average.
So the third one was Hillock Green. This was the special kid on the block. It was not the same developer. Okay, so it launched in November 2023, 474 units. The land was bought at $1,000 over per square foot per plot ratio, and this is the highest transacted in the whole of Lentor, 2,555 per square feet.
And then we have Lentoria, the smallest development in the whole Lentor cluster with 267 units. And the land was transacted at $1,130 per square feet per plot ratio. And the average selling price was about $2,187.
And very shortly after Lentoria launch, it was Lentor Mansion. Now this one was 533 units. This is the first GFA harmonized project in the whole of Singapore. Right, so the land cost was definitely lower because I think the developers were a bit more cautious. So the average per square foot transacted was $2,270.
The next one will be Lentor Central, which is the one that's going to be launching this weekend. So this is the cheapest land that was bought in the whole of the Lentor cluster. The land was transacted at $982 per square feet per plot ratio, and the average selling price of the unit is expected to start from about under $2,000 per square feet.
I think what's exciting about this land is that it's very close to the mall and the MRT station.
And apparently it has the most practical design and layout. The whole configuration is full of storage spaces, and it's going to be one-to-one parking lots as well, full condo facilities.
Also developed by Guoco Land and also Intrepid was under Hong Leong as well, and together with CFC Land. Next one that's upcoming would be this one. The next plot of land is Lentor Garden. Okay, it will yield about 500 units and it's still undergoing bidding at the current moment. The next plot of land, it will have a lower plot ratio of 2.1, so it will be slightly lower floors than where we are at here, Lentor Central Residences. You notice that this whole Lentor looks like a tortoise shell. All the developments are actually surrounding this Hillock Park, which is going to be a national park.
In this whole Lentor cluster, if you've been to the show flat, you've seen the models and you're wondering how come the buildings, they all look similar, like this core block, the structure, and then all of a sudden there's a sky garden and all that kind of stuff, right? So the reason is because when the government actually makes sure that the developers follow these certain sets of regulations to ensure two things: the wind corridor and visual porosity. So the ventilation needs to be there, and there needs to always be pockets of spaces for them to look into the Hillock Park.
And also, very importantly, the service areas such as the bin centers and all will have to be visually well screened. It means you cannot see it. Everything will be very aesthetically pleasing. So for Lentor Central Residences, in order to safeguard the wind corridors, there must be enough block-to-block distance. So the URA did set a minimum block-to-block distance of 30 meters. And also here, they did say that you have to have minimally 30% of it as gaps between the blocks.
So when we talk about oversupply, what is the exact number we're talking about? So in the whole of Lentor cluster, including the new ones that are coming up, by the time everything is done, we're expected to have 3,454 units in this whole Lentor cluster. What does this number mean? Is it a lot? So we need to benchmark it against who will potentially buy over your units. Has this oversupply situation ever happened before? A couple of years back in District 19, we see 3 mega launches yielding more than 3,500 units. And the 3 developments are
the Florence Residences that TOP in 2023, total of 1,400 over units. We have Riverfront Residences 2024 TOP, also 1,400 over units, as well as Affinity at Serangoon that TOP in 2024. So all very, very close gaps.
So with these 3 mega developments in the same district in such close proximity to one another, yielding 3,959 units, we look at the capital appreciation because we are worried. So many units coming to the market at the same time. Would the sellers be able to sell the profit? So over here we can see
So Affinity did about 20% profit over 7 years. And then for Florence, did about 26% over 6 years. And for Riverfront, it did 32% over 7 years as well.
With all these upcoming launches and the existing launches in Lentor, we also want to know, would there be demand? Are these properties fully sold?
So right now we can see they are mostly more than 90% sold. Right, except for Hillock Green, is still 86%. Is still 86% sold, and for Lentor, it's about 71% sold. So what exactly is still remaining in the market is really not much. You really don't have much options. For Hillock Green, we do see some 2 bidders, 3 bidders still available. For Lentoria, we also see 2, 3, 4 bidders available. Lentor Hills, we only see 2 1+ studies and 1 3-bedroom dual key unit. So dual key is also quite interesting. For Lentor Mansion, we have 1 4-bedder and 9 5-bedroom units.
So aside from all of this, there would be no more remaining supply other than Lentor Central that's upcoming, and it's going to be the cheapest launch amongst all of them.
Side note, Lentor Mansion is the only one with 5 bedrooms. So if you are looking for a 5-bedroom in Lentor, these are the last 9 units.
Where exactly are these people coming from? I mean, considering if you're watching this and you don't know where Lentor is, it's such a foreign name, very ulu location, right? Where are these people coming from?
Based on past launches, we have the data, addresses of where our buyers are coming from for PropNext. And we've noticed in Lentor Modern, we've seen lots of buyers coming from Hougang, Punggol, Sengkang, District 19. We've also seen a lot of buyers from District 20, which is right beside us, Ang Mo Kio, Bishan, Thomson, District 25, towards the north. District 26 is where we are at, Lentor, as well as 27, which is Sembawang, Yishun. So you notice there's actually the decentralization effect is real. All the people that are coming from the already very saturated towns are just moving in where it's not too far away from them, but it's a brand new town with lots of new supply. The next one was Lentor Hills residents. Likewise, you also notice that a lot of them came from District 19, District 20, as well as 25, and 27. And for Hillock Green, we've also noticed a lot of people coming from District 19, 20, strangely Bukit Batok and Bukit Panjang also.
Yeah.
And then we also have lots from Woodlands, Lentor, as well as Sembawang, Yishun.
One of the most important things is the BTO upgraders, because these people fall into this category where, number one, they're affluent enough to upgrade because obviously they make profits from their BTOs. Number two, there is this aspiration. Right now, they have made profits from their property. They want to buy another brand new property, upgrade of lifestyle, moving from HDB to a condo, and now they're able to make profits again. So we want to know, are there enough HDB upgraders to support this Lentor cluster? So you can look on the left side of the screen. These are the areas, Ang Mo Kio, Bishan, Hougang, Punggol. We can see that there's approximately going to be 54,000 over BTOs that are going to MOP alongside with the TOP period of the developments. So it's approximately 54,000 to 5,305 units.
So you can imagine, fast forward 2028, with our 55,000 BTO upgraders, and they're trying to upgrade into a private new condominium, and there's only 5,000 over units available for them to choose. It's going to be quite a competition, maybe price bidding or something like that. Even with 10% of upgraders, it's still impossible to meet the demand. The supply is not enough.
Now we want to look at the affluence of the HDB upgraders, specifically from Ang Mo Kio, by understanding how much have they managed to sell the HDB for.
Okay, so for the 4-room HDBs in Ang Mo Kio, we have already seen 900 over K to 1.1 million in maximum price. 5-room flats, we've seen $1 million and all the way up to $1.3 million. And for executive HDB flats, look at this. This is a 1978 flat and it's already transacted at 1.32 million. And these are all the $1 million HDB flats transacted in Ang Mo Kio over the past 5 years, about a total of 143.
When we hear people selling the HDB at $1 million or more, what exactly does it mean for you as a condo owner? So let's just make a few logical assumptions. Assuming they're able to sell their HDB for $1 million, chances are it means that they are new or in a very prime location. So assuming they bought it at $500,000 from the HDB during the BTO stage, 5 years down the road during the MOP, they would approximately have about a $350,000 outstanding loan. A very simple calculation, you take how much they are able to sell their HDB for, in this instance, $1 million, minus away $350,000, you know exactly how much proceeds this $1 million HDB upgraders are going to have. Whatever amount it is they have on their hand, it's what they can afford as down payment for the new condos. So you take that amount divided by 29%, they are able to afford up to $2.2 million just from the proceeds of being able to sell the HDB at $1 million. So this is part one of understanding Lentor, the rejuvenations that's going to happen in the area, the amount of money the government is spending to build MRT stations, and all the pieces of land that is upcoming down the road.
We're very excited for the new upcoming Lentor Central Residences. Going to preview from the 21st February, Friday. It's going to be the cheapest in the whole of Singapore.
Stay tuned to part 2. We're going to dive deep into understanding the Lentor Central Residences and how it compares to all their counterparts. So get in touch if you want to have direct developer access, brochures, floor plan analysis. We'll see you in the show flag.